Quick question, and I really want you to answer this honestly. Have you ever left a job because you really couldn't see a clear path forward? You didn't understand what your next step was? You couldn't find somebody that believed in your potential or that had invested in you? Or maybe you're sitting in one right now where you can't see the way forward, where you don't have the relationship where somebody has invested in you. If either one of these situations has landed, you're not by yourself. Lack of career growth and lack of clarity around career opportunities is the number one reason people leave organization. Number one. And if you lead people, here's a harder question. Does your team actually believe the career opportunities that you've described, that you've laid out for them? Not do you believe it, do they believe it? According to our employee retention survey, 89% of leaders say they communicate career opportunities effectively, very effectively in fact. And yet, career growth opportunities is the number one reason people are walking out the door. Now the link to this survey is in the descriptions of this video, but you can go to joyhavens.com and look under the research button also. But let's get back to this gap. 89% say they effectively communicate it. It's the number one reason people leave organization. That is a credibility problem. That is a full potential problem. That is a retention problem. So what creates this? In my experience, there's three primary reasons. There's a lot of things that go into it, but there's three primary reasons. The third reason is one that most leaders can't even see and don't even know to look for. And it's one of the most expensive things affecting their bottom line, even though it doesn't show up as a line item on the profit and loss statement. So the first reason, and I think it's the most common reason, and it's the most fixable reason. Most organizations don't truly have a formal career track, one that lays out with clarity the technical competencies and the success skills. I call them success skills. Some people call them soft skills that people need to get to the next level. In many organizations, it's not written, and where it is, there's no clarity around it. When you don't have clarity around it, it becomes a matter of opinion. The leader has one opinion, the team member has another opinion. And that gap is where trust starts to break down. And when trust starts to break down, turnover starts. Performance lags. When we discovered this problem in our firm, we built a career growth continuum for every level in the firm, even ownership. So there was clarity around technical competencies, success skills for every level and what you needed to do to get to the next level. What was so cool about it? With a new person coming in the organization, whatever level they were coming in at, even at the starting level, they could see in a crystal clear picture exactly what their expectations would be, how they would be evaluated. They could start working on a plan to move to the next level. That document alone changed conversation. People started asking the right questions. They started implementing the right plans to advance faster. They started leaning in and taking ownership. Now, the second reason is one that quietly breaks people down. Leaders communicate timelines. They agree to expectations around promotions and raises and opportunities. And then life happens. Business changes. Sometimes priorities change. Performance suffers. Whatever the case, life happens. And that team member expectation, possibly even promise, passes by in silence. Unexplained. No explanation, no conversation. And the team member is left to draw their own conclusions with whatever little information they have. To bring this one home and make it real, let me tell you about somebody that I know. Now, this was a star. They were brought in to replace a legacy player who was going to retire in 18 months. They took over that position, was knocking it out in a year, expanded the role, even changed some processes, made the company better. That 18 months rolled around, and then another 30 days and another 60 days, no promotion. He did get a raise, no title. All of a sudden, an announcement comes out that the legacy team member has moved their retirement date another 12 months. Not because the company needed it, because the legacy team member was with the group when they started the company, and they had decided they weren't ready to retire. No conversation, no explanation, no title, no access to the C-suite, which you would have been in had you gotten the title. No recognition for the type of job they had done. Even the CEO would tell you they were knocking it out of the park. Think about that. You know what happened, don't you? They flew the coop. I don't blame them for flying the coop, but they flew the coop. Landed at a competitor, took on a very similar role, and started knocking it out of the park. I happen to know the CEO of the new company also. Could not have been more ecstatic about the talent that they brought on. Made a difference in their company. When I talked to them about why they had decided to fly the coop, why did they leave, it really wasn't complicated at all. There were 4 big wounds that just were too big to ignore. No communication when the timeline changed, no explanation at all as to why, no title for the level of work that they were doing. They had completely assumed that job and that role. They didn't get access to the C-suite, and they didn't really have anybody in their corner that was pulling for them, say, hey, this person deserves this title. They deserve this promotion. And sadly, the organization that they left really never understood why. But here's the rule, this is what we want to learn from this, is that when the timeline changes or the expectation's not met, the first place to have that conversation is with the team member. They don't need to be surprised, and they don't need or not understand why. People deserve that. And now for the third reason, which most leaders don't even know to look for, and they never really see it coming. And I guess we could call it career intelligence. It's the unwritten rules in workplace culture again about how you advance, how decisions are made, how you get on the right opportunities. Now that information flows freely in organizations. Leaders would tell you immediately, well, that's no secret. But the problem is it doesn't flow freely to everyone, because not everyone has the same informal relationship. Those kind of things happen in a casual conversation with a senior leader. It can happen at a lunch. It can happen at the water cooler, walking down the hallway, but it happens through those informal relationships. And the people that don't have those relationships, that are not in the in group, don't know what they're missing. They don't know what to ask for. They work hard, they perform well, and they wonder why advancement seems so foggy and why advancement seems so slow. When we started addressing this in our firm, we put in formal coaching programs, certified coaches, and a sponsorship and advocacy program. These were available to everyone. We wanted everybody to have access. This started to build those relationships that different people needed to have access to those informal conversations. Now the results were striking. In fact, some of the biggest gains were in our underrepresented groups and in our women, people that didn't have the same access to some of those relationships. But here's the neatest thing of all. Here's what happened across the entire organization. So I want you to think about being on a running team. And you're running 10-minute miles and you finish in the middle of the pack all the time. And all of a sudden there's this new coaching program put in, and everybody's now running 9.5-minute miles. You run a 10-minute mile and you're at the very back of the pack. What happened? You decide you're going to run a 9.5-minute mile. And you do. And that's exactly what happens is when you get this right and the information flows more equitably to all the team members, it raises the bar of expectations. It raises the bar of performance because you got more people realizing their full potential. Let's talk about making this practical and what we can do this week. I like putting things to work as soon as possible. Let's start with leaders. If you lead people, sit down and have some career conversation. The key question is to ask somebody, do you know what it takes to get to the next level? Are your expectations being met for when you want to be there? Do you know the resources and things you need to do to get there? You're going to find out over and over again, a lot of people are going to say no. But start having those conversations, and then you'll know how to make that organization better. The second is when a timeline changes. When a team member has set a promotion a year from now that they want to have that promotion and they're not going to make it, have those conversations. When a timeline has to be moved out, have the conversation on why. And the third is reach out and develop a relationship with somebody that might not have as many internal relationships with the right people. Somebody that you think that would benefit greatly from having access to you. Reach out and make that happen. Sponsor somebody. Learn who they are and then advocate for them in a way that they can achieve their career dream. Now, if you're a team member and you don't know what the next step is, if your future career opportunities are foggy to you, it's pretty easy. Not easy to do, easy to say. Ask for the meeting. Ask for the meeting. If you got the right leadership, they're going to be excited about you asking about that. What leader would not want their people to be invested in their career growth? Ask for the meeting. If you don't have a sponsor, if you don't feel like you have some of those informal relationships with some of the upper level management in your organization, start to build one. Ask somebody out to lunch. Stop in and introduce yourself to somebody. Ask them about themselves. You'll have the opportunity to talk about who you are, but start to build some of those relationships. Most leaders, most people are going to say yes when you're genuine about your request. I've had team members ask me to go to lunch or to have an informal meeting or to do a telephone Zoom conference with them, and I had no connection with them in any kind of direct line. And yet they had the courage to ask for that meeting. I was excited to do that. They're going to be excited to help you. And then if you're getting the feedback and you're not making the progress you want to make and you don't really understand next steps or what you need to be asking for, find a coach. If you don't have access to a full potential type coach, then somebody in that organization that you respect their career track, ask them to coach you. Or maybe you have a good friend that you could ask to coach you. But find access to a coach. Hold that mirror up. Part of that coach's job is to hold a mirror up for you to evaluate yourself. 89% of leaders say they very effectively communicate career growth opportunities, and people are leaving out the door every day, and that's the number one reason: career growth. For leaders, it's your gap to close. Clarity around career tracks, direct conversations, sponsorship and advocacy that levels the playing field. But for the person, this is most important, for the person that's watching this video and you're in an organization and you're wondering, is there anyone in this organization that really believes in me, that's willing to invest in me? Your full potential is too important to wait for people to notice it. Too important not to ask for the meeting. Too important not to find a sponsor. Too important not to find a coach. And if you're in an organization where you've asked for those resources and nobody's really picked up the rope to invest in you, then your full potential is too important to stay there. Because the best leaders, the best organizations are going to lean into those requests. They're going to want team members that want to be better. And you deserve to find one. If this video hit home for you at all, please drop in the comments personal growth, because that's what this is about. Number one reason why people are leaving organizations: personal growth. And remember, on that daily journey, we always want to be better.